This is 15 minutes with Corey, and we're going to go over GP backups and maintenance plans. This is take 9. Hopefully, I have it right this time. My name is Corey Severson. I am a consultant lead here at Stoneridge Software. I've worked with Dynamics GP and supporting products since 2008. Currently, my main point of work or point of interest here at Stoneridge Software is GP solutioning, where I like to work with our clients, the best clients, I might add, and come up with solutions to their pain points and other options for them to make their lives easier while using Dynamics GP. I also work with integrations, data to and from Dynamics GP and other supporting products. I also do upgrades and year-end updates, help people with their year-end closes, write custom reports with Management Reporter and SSRS, among other products. And then I also provide support. On the screen here, you'll see a picture of myself and then my family, my wife and 2 daughters. We didn't picture the dog, not sure why. The kids always grab it and put it in the picture. I live here in Fargo, North Dakota, where I've lived since the late 1990s. Um, sorry. Yeah, that's right. um, and yeah, I guess here we go. We're going to talk about GP database backups, um, backups of other things, the non-SQL files, other databases, and then third parties. So lots of times you'll have third-party products that we need to make sure are getting backed up. How often do you need to make those backups? And then where should you put them when you got them? I mean, it's always good to make them so that you know where they're at, and because in case you need them, you want to find them. And then maintenance plans. We want to make sure that your GP is running as efficiently as possible. Why do you want to learn about this? Well, disaster recovery. There are lots of events that can happen that might cause your server to not be available, whether that's ransomware or maybe someone hits your server with a forklift. We've had that happen here, just so you know. Human error. Sometimes we've all done something that we didn't want to do. Well, wouldn't it be nice if we had a backup plan to just kind of move on back and get rid of it? Well, a good backup will help that with Dynamics GP and the software. And then performance again. We want to make sure GP is running as optimally as possible. When you create database backups, there are a couple of things that work in conjunction with each other. They are the backup recovery modes and the backup types. A lot of folks are good with just a single daily backup. Well, that's called simple recovery on the database. And then what you do is you make one full backup a day, and you're good with that. You lose, if at most, you lose a full day's worth of work when you have to restore. Um, a lot of times, what we see in those situations is they know that they have one full backup. Then we'll just go out and we'll make sure that we create an additional backup on purpose before something is being run. But if you want to kind of avoid that, well, then we recommend that you would turn on the full recovery model on your databases and then make sure you're adding transaction logs along with your full backup type. That will allow you to recover to a point in time pretty much as long as there's a transaction log available for that time. The non-SQL files, well, a lot of times people will have these different files that they work with and need on a daily basis. We want to make sure that there's a file backup for those. And many times that's just stored out there in the GP share, which we at Stoneridge will create for you when we install your app, your implementation of GP, or maintain it with your year-end updates. We'll organize the software out there and then make sure that all the files that you're utilizing are organized out there. But we want to make sure that those are included inside of your file maintenance recovery plan. And then forms and reports. As soon as you create a custom form or a custom report in GP, it's no longer housed inside the database. So you need to make sure that wherever that is, that it's getting backed up as well. Because we all know that working in Report Writer isn't the funnest thing in the world. So we really don't want to have to go out there and start recreating your invoices or recreating your custom reports that you've created from within Report Writer again. And then integrations. If you're using any sort of integrations with GP, Integration Manager in particular is all file based. So we want to make sure wherever that's stored and wherever your um, database file for that is it's being backed up with your file plan. And then any databases that work with integrations, Smart Connect in particular, that needs to be backed up because it's not part of the GP database. Third parties and then their databases. So um, Management Reporter, that's not considered a third party because it comes with GP, but that and SSRS are other databases that you also work with. So we want to make sure that those are part of the maintenance plan when you're running your backups, that they're included. Both of those also include options to export the reports. But again, if you can just include those within your database plan, it's easiest, and then you don't have to worry about creating those additional file backups. Um, Third parties, just be aware of any other databases that are out there that you need to include inside of your database maintenance plan. And then anything else. If there are other applications or other files that you use on a day-to-day basis, just make sure that they're included in your file maintenance recovery or your database recovery options, and just make sure that they're getting backed up so that they're included when you, if in case you need to restore anything. How often should you make them? Well, we recommend that you create your full backups once a day. And then any log backups are at least every hour, if not more. It all depends on how much data you're willing to lose. So if you're willing to lose a day's worth of work, then a full backup's good. Well, if you want to recover to the hour, then run them every hour. Some people run them every 5 minutes. So it all just kind of depends on how you want to restore back to. The GP share, make sure you run that monthly, if not more. If you have file backups that can run nightly too, that's ideal. But you don't make changes to those that often, so monthly is generally sufficient. The same thing with the forms and reports. Again, just reiterating, do you want to go back into Report Writer and make those things? So just make sure they're backed up. And then anything else, it kind of just depends on the data. If it's a database, include it with your GP maintenance plan, your database backup, so that it's just running along with that one. If it's files, well then monthly, include it with those file maintenance plans, and just in the end, just make sure that you're backing up all these different items that you're going to need with GP. Now, where do you keep them? Sure. Well, when we are on your system, we'll make a SQL backup and we'll restore it on the or we'll store it on the SQL server along with the transaction logs. But it's ideal to get that into multiple locations. So should something happen to a building, we want to make sure that it's at least in another building. So when you run these maintenance plans or backups, make sure that they're in multiple locations. And then ideally, we would like to see something in the cloud. Yes, it takes a little longer to restore in that situation, but at least the data is going to be there for you to get back to. There are many, many options out there available for you to store your database in a cloud solution. And we'd be more than happy to talk with you about those different options that are available. The last thing, and super important, is how good are backups if you don't test them? Well, if you need to restore from a backup and if it's no good, well, I mean, what's the purpose of making the backup? So certainly make sure that you test your backups at least on a quarterly basis, if not more, so that you ensure that if you have to restore from a backup, that everything is in working order. All right, for the maintenance plans, this is what helps GP run optimally and runs efficient as possible. In the bottom right box, you'll notice that there is a link inside that box. Well, that describes all these other three boxes that I'm just going to describe or go over here really quickly. The check database, rebuild index, and update statistics. Check database, it examines the structural integrity of the database and then it creates a log of it. So you're going to want to review it if you're running it. The rebuild index, well, every table in GP has indexes on it, and those indexes help GP get to the data efficiently. Well, it's good to rebuild those because if they get fragmented, they're just not working as efficiently as possible. So rebuilding the index will ensure that it is. And then you want to update the statistics. Those work with the query optimizer, and then that key information is stored as statistics and helps GP get to those items quickly. And next, the shortest demo ever. We're just going to go into SQL Management Studio, and I'm going to show you where to get to this information and how to quickly go over um, briefly how to create it. So you need to make sure SQL Server agent is running. That's the first thing that we check when we install SQL Server, is that SQL Server agent is set up to run, not on a manual basis, but we like to set it up so the service starts and your maintenance plans are going to run. Then you want to right click on maintenance plans, and it's always good to use a wizard if you got one. So click on the maintenance plan wizard. Next, change is the button that allows you to create the schedule. For a maintenance plan, I run it once a week on a time where people generally aren't in the system. So Saturday, Sunday, Friday night, or any night during the week or early in the morning. Then we're going to go in and we're going to select the different options that Microsoft recommends. It's check database integrity, rebuild the index, and update the statistics. And then from there, we go through and we check which databases we want to run that against. Well, in most cases, we want to run them against every database that's in our system. So we go in here and we check all user databases. In most cases, I only mark those items that I know are working in conjunction with Great Plains. So we got Dynamics, and then it would be Management Reporter, then Report Server, and then any company database. And then we go through the rest and we would fill out the statistics selection for the same, where it's user database, and then the same thing when we do the rebuild index. For database backups, I usually set up a couple of maintenance plans for those. You have the option, like you can go in and you can set them up uh, all in one plan, but I like to do separate plans for the full backups and then a separate plan for the transaction log. So what I usually do is I will set a plan where I create the full backup once a day, and I do that at about 8 p.m., something like that. And then on the selection screen, you would choose your full backup and then a maintenance cleanup task so that it gets rid of those backups after a certain number of days. You're going to want to keep at least 7 days worth of backups, as long as your data drives allow for that much, if not more. Once you have this selected, then I go back through and then I would create a separate maintenance task that would do the transaction log and then a maintenance cleanup task for those. Again, maybe overkill and you could get all this in one, but that's just the way that I've created these items, and it's worked for our clients. So after that, I just want to say, should you need any assistance with any of this, if it seems a little too technical for you, the folks here at Stone Ridge Software are more than happy to help you. So reach out, support@stoneridgesoftware.com, and any one of us will be willing to help you get this set up or test them and make sure that what you're doing is going to be good enough to recover from any sort of a disaster. Also on the screen, you'll see all of the different options that we're here to help you with at Stone Ridge. So if you see something that you're interested in, reach out to us and we're more than happy to help you take care of that.